Joining me right now is former Trump Deputy National Security Advisor, American Conservative Union board member, and the author of Revolution, Trump, Washington, and We the People. Katie McFarland is here. Katie, great to see you. Thanks so much for being here. What are your thoughts on this potential imminent attack from Iran?
I think it makes a lot of sense. Iran wants to distract everybody's attention to the very serious demonstrations, anti-regime demonstrations that are happening all across Iran. So they want to rattle the cages, get the West really nervous, get the United States nervous, because as you said, we have troops, we have assets in the region. But is there anything to this? Maybe. You know, I think the bigger question, though, is why does the Biden administration continue this love affair with Iran? You know, they're begging them for a flawed nuclear deal. They're enabling Iran because of the high energy prices brought on by Joe Biden's war on American fossil fuels. And they're kind of pushing Saudi Arabia into the arms of the Russians. You know, if there's a friend that we have in the Middle East, it's Israel, and probably it's Saudi Arabia. It sure heck is not Iran. Iran, who is now helping the Russians in the Ukraine war.
Yeah, but look, we haven't heard anything about what's going on in Iran from this administration. You've got protesters on the ground. You've got women, courageous women, fighting back after they murdered one for wearing her scarf incorrectly. Look at this picture, 120,000 people protesting against the Iranian regime in Berlin, no less. What's your take on what's going on there right now? Is this a revolution? And is the Iran deal dead at this point?
Potentially. Well, I hope the Iran deal is dead because it allows Iran to get nuclear weapons, unlike the way the Biden administration, the Obama administration before it, said, oh, no, this is to stop Iran's nuclear program. No, it's not. It's to allow Iran to have nuclear weapons, just not tomorrow, but day after tomorrow. You know, the protests in Iran, they kind of break out every 5-10 years, anti-government protests. The government puts it down. Everybody goes back to normal. This is different. These demonstrations, as you point out, they started over women's rights to wear or not to wear a headscarf, but they've now spread way beyond that. They've spread all around the country. They're an anti-regime demonstration. They're pro-democracy in many cases, and it's gone on for a long time. This is a real threat to the Iranian government, the mullahs, in particular because the leaders of Iran right now, the supreme leader, he's old, he's really sick, he may, for all we know, have already died.
Right.
But there is going to be a regime change of some sort in Iran certainly within the next year. So this is the moment we should be on the side of the good guys, you know, the pro-democracy people, the anti-repression people. And yet somehow we make a few nice statements, but in reality, we're propping up the mullahs yet again, as we did during the Obama administration.
And of course, we've seen all of our adversaries on the move after the botched withdrawal from Afghanistan. The U.S. now is condemning North Korea after North Korea launched at least 23 missiles towards South Korea earlier today, the most amount of fired missiles in one day. The missile launches come as North Korea is threatening a more powerful response to joint U.S.-South Korea military drills, KT. What should we be thinking about this? And of course, then there's China looming and the Communist Party getting even more aggressive every day.
Yeah, and the key to all everything in Asia right now is China. North Korea survives only because China pays for it. They give them like 95% of their food and fuel oil and electricity, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So China could shut North Korea down and these nuclear demonstrations. They could shut them down by noon tomorrow. They choose not to. Now, why is that? Because they like the idea that everybody's nervous about North Korea, that South Korea's nervous, Japan's nervous, America's nervous. The one thing that would threaten the Chinese peace of mind is if those countries, Japan, South Korea, the United States, but particularly Japan, if they decided to rearm, potentially even go nuclear, that would get China's attention, and China would shut down these North Korean, bad actors overnight. But the bigger issue is always going to be China.
Well, let me get your take on TikTok and this consistent effort of surveillance of the American people by the Communist Party. Now the Federal Communications Commissioner Brendan Carr is urging the U.S. government to ban TikTok to protect Americans' private data. He says that there's no way to have, quote, sufficient confidence that data is not being sent back to Beijing, KT. That, in fact, the owner of TikTok, ByteDance, is actually surveilling American citizens, taking that data, sending it to the Communist Party, and the CCP could be using it against Americans at some point.
Yeah, in the Trump administration, we realized what a threat TikTok was because the Chinese government is using TikTok, the data TikTok collects, not only to get information about American citizens and patterns that American citizens use, but really to shove information down in the other direction, to use it as a propaganda tool to promote pro-China, but absolutely to sort of sow dissent about the efficacy of democracy. Every time we have gone to China and they've said, oh, no, don't worry about it. There's a Chinese wall. We're China. We're not collecting information about Americans. We may own ByteDance, the mother company of TikTok, but really TikTok's fine and clean. No, it's not. The Trump administration warned about it. Secretary of State Pompeo said, look, if you really want China to spy on what you're doing, download the TikTok application. And even Senator Warner from Virginia, a Democrat who doesn't like Republicans at all, and certainly didn't like President Trump, he's even come to say, look, there's no way you can now have some kind of moderating influence on TikTok. TikTok needs to be banned in the United States. Why? Because China passed a law early on in the Trump administration saying that any Chinese citizen, either in China or abroad, was subject to a national security law that says that any time a Chinese company or a Chinese government official or Chinese intelligence comes to you and says, we want this information, we want that, you have to do it. And any Chinese who says, no, I don't really feel that's right, it's against my conscience, you are then guilty of treason and potentially can be executed for death. So when the Chinese say, oh, no, there's no issue here, there's a huge issue here. And TikTok needs to be banned in the U.S.
KT, this is only one part of it. I mean, does the Biden administration get any of this?
Yeah.
You're right. The Trump administration, under the administration, you had a string of indictments. The DOJ indicting people like the chemistry professor at Harvard who was sharing information with the CCP and shutting down the embassy in Houston because of surveillance and intellectual property theft. Now we understand that there are CCP police stations all over the world, including in the United States. Secretary Pompeo told me recently the CCP is now inside the gates of America. What is an important and worthwhile practical policy that should be implemented in the face of all of this?
All right, you should do three things. Number one, make sure that the technology that the United States scientists, engineers are developing doesn't go to China. You can do that in a lot of different ways. Number two, American energy independence. Guess which country has to import energy? China. If China is forced to import American oil, natural gas, American energy, they're beholden to us. But then finally, and I think in a lot of ways most importantly, we're falling behind in technological innovation. We're not spending enough. We're not devoting enough resources to getting cutting-edge research and development. And even if we do, we're not protecting it from going into China, as I said in point number one. So key of this should be the United States needs to get really serious about technological innovation, artificial intelligence, bioengineering, all those string of things that the Chinese are very serious about, either developing themselves, buying from us, or stealing from us.
Great point. KT, it's always great to catch up. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Maria.